My line too.
Yeah, there you go. It's good today. Appreciation for the Christ-like within each of us and the presence of the divine in our gathering.
Thanks. Read the article in in the newsletter this morning. We have received the I only had half a cup of milk this morning. Okay, I'm done. That's all. Cleared for the whole session. All right. So we got the inspection report back from the buyers. The inspection report had 77 pages of of issues and fixes. The buyers were wanting a $27,000 adjustment to the purchase price. We looked through the items, came to the conclusion that some of them were, or several of them were overpriced, the fixes. So we suggested that we have a $15,000 adjustment to the purchase price, bringing us down to the original purchase offer of $760,000. We've conveyed that to our real estate agent. Our real estate agent has conveyed it to the buyer's agent, and we should be hearing back sometime, hopefully tomorrow. We'll see. We'll have at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, we'll have a discussion. And then Wednesday night at 7, we'll have a prayer circle and meditation. And Friday evening, a 7 p.m. fellowship time. And, of course, all of these sessions we have fellowship time, but that's specifically unstructured. Talk about whatever you will for the entire time. So, with that, let me mute all of our participants. And Doug, if you would find yourself and unmute.
That looked like it was in Arabic for a minute.
It was. We're doing a session on Muhammad today. Go ahead. Yep, we're good. Hear you. Love is flowing like a river, flowing out from you and me, down into the desert, setting all the captives free. Peace is flowing, flowing out from you and me, flowing down into the desert, setting all the captives free. Joy is flowing like a river. So, setting all the captives free. And if you want to unmute yourself and join in this affirmation. Living Water Unity is a thriving spiritual community inspired to embrace and share our abundant good now. I'm empowered for joyful living by expressing God in each moment. And if someone would like to read the daily word for us this morning. Remember to unmute yourself, okay?
I can do that. Okay. I affirm truth for everyone I hold in prayer. I am honored by the trust people place in me when they ask for prayer support. As I pray for others, I see each one for whom I pray as divine and know the truth that each one is a living expression of God. My purpose in prayer is not to focus on the particulars of a situation, but to hold a higher view. As I center in prayer, I hold the vision that all challenging circumstances are moving toward a satisfying resolution in one way or another. I release all thoughts about the situation that prompted the prayer need and focus on the activity of God. As I pray, I see the life, the love, the wisdom, and the power of God at work, healing, strengthening, and establishing peace in all those for whom I pray. I thank my God every time I remember you, constantly praying with joy in every one of my prayers for all of you. Philippines 1:3-4.
Thank you. And as we gather in this sacred time, we hold a higher watch by expressing unconditional love to both the prayer.
David, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for reading the daily word. Thank you for noting that I'm muted. Okay, so as we hold a higher watch, we are expressing unconditional love to both the prayer, to feel your love moving through us into this moment, to allow your love to move into this moment without allocation, without limits, and without consideration, but rather to let it flow freely and touch all of those in our consciousness. Breathing into this awareness of your love. Allowing your love to move and touch each one in our presence, in our awareness. And we give thanks for this realization. And so it is that together we say, Amen. And in this consciousness, I invite you to offer your prayer requests, stating them succinctly, but offering those requests here to this community. And we will consider those requests for 5 or 10 seconds. And I'll conclude that consideration period with, and so it is, and we offer another prayer. And so I invite you now to offer your prayer here to this community.
I'd like to offer prayers. Sorry.
It's okay, go ahead.
I'd like to offer prayers for my Junior Chamber of Commerce Senator community. I just found out one of my dear friends in the group passed away. Her name is Chris Grown. I'd like to offer prayers to her family.
And so it is.
I'd like to offer prayers for our grandkids, Mason, Riley, and Violet, who are on vacation in California right now. They had plans to go there for a long time. We had presumed that those plans had changed because of how badly COVID has hit California recently. They did not change their plans. They are there right now with their mother and her family. So we pray for their health and safety, not only traveling, but while they are there, and their safe return.
And so it is.
Rachel here. I'd like to offer prayers for my sister and her husband who just moved. They've been forced to downsize. They're feeling a little depressed, a little overwhelmed, and they have a lot of work ahead of them. So just send them prayers for strength and support and the grace of acceptance.
And so it is.
I would like to offer prayers for my nephew Jeremy, who's undergoing chemotherapy for an aggressive form of cancer.
And so it is.
I'd like to ask for prayers for my sister Anita and brother-in-law Chris, who just sold their home in Aurora and are moving to Tucson on the 8th of August. And it's a huge life change for them. And of course, they are moving into the situation where COVID is really bad. So prayers of protection and health and happiness for them.
And so it is.
Prayers for my father, Keith Sanders, just diminishing dementia, my daily prayer for him, and just for all my family and everybody out in California. Probably not everybody in the world dealing with this COVID virus, but just hold everybody in God's love and light and see them staying healthy.
And so it is. For all of those who are employed, that are helping us, who are still maintaining our isolation, the medical workers, the food distribution network, all of the people attending to our needs, we give thanks, holding them in the light, seeing them protected, seeing them healthy and secure. And so it is. And for all those prayers unspoken, for all those who feel isolated and alone, for all of those who have a need for the awareness that they are important, that somebody cares. We hold them in the light. We see them lifted and transformed in the awareness of God's love. And so it is that together we say, Amen.
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 We have the pleasure this morning of our good friend, our longtime maestro, Doug Roche, is going to play Shenandoah for us this morning.
Please bear with me here. I'm having a little bit of a low blood sugar attack, so hopefully I can stay on the bench.
Okay. All right. We'll hold you in the light. Thank you,
Wonderful.
Doug. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, that was so beautiful.
It was indeed.
Gorgeous.
Brought us back to the Smokies in Virginia and the Shenandoahs and the whole story behind it.
So, have you found your porpoise? When I was floundering, looking for my purpose back in the early 90s, I joined Unity of Boulder in 1988 after a substantial amount of stress and tribulation in my professional life. And it was a workbook and the text. And so in 1988, I started taking A Course in Miracles. And one of the other students in my class, Midge Meager, she and I decided that we would take the course into the Boulder County Jail. And the Boulder County Jail was fairly open to programs. They didn't have a whole lot of programs for the inmates. But Midge and I made a proposal. We were accepted into the program, and our thought was, this is going to, we have no idea what we're going to be encountering. I had never been in a jail before, and I'm not sure whether Midge had or not, but we didn't know what we were going to encounter with this. But it turns out that the program was very popular. We had 25 to 28 inmates attending the class every week, and frankly, it was a fair amount of work to get prepared to present the class. At that time, we were unfamiliar. We'd been through the course maybe once, but we were nonetheless not prepared to take a curriculum into Boulder County Jail. So we were concerned about how much time it was going to take us, but we came to the conclusion that if we had one person that got it, one person that was sparked by the study of A Course in Miracles, that it would all be worth it. Well, we presented the program. Turns out it was popular because it was one of the few co-ed programs in the jail that allowed both the male and the female inmates to attend. Well, we didn't know that at the time. We just thought we were such great Course in Miracles teachers, or the course was just so attractive that we got a lot of attendees. But nonetheless, there was one person that really took to A Course in Miracles. And he had been arrested on cocaine, dealing cocaine. And he was in jail pending trial. After trial, he was sentenced to Camp George West. It turns out that in that same time frame, I decided that in addition to the Boulder County Jail, I would take the course into a minimum security prison close by. It turns out that was Camp George West, and there he was. Bobby Winters was excited about the course being there, and he was one of the more avid students. The course, the attendance wasn't as great there because it wasn't a co-ed class, but nonetheless, we had good participation, 10 or 12 people there on a fairly regular basis, but Bobby was there every week. And when Bobby got out, it took, I think he had a sentence of 2 years, something like that. He showed up at Unity of Boulder, and he began attending Unity of Boulder, was very excited, and he by this time he had been through the course a couple of times. And he came into my office one day and he says, "Hey, I want to show you something." And so he brought in a T-shirt, and I'll show this T-shirt to you. He said, so this is the front of the T-shirt. It's, "Have you found your porpoise yet?" And the back of the T-shirt was, "To help, to heal, to love unconditionally." And just watching him and hearing about his life challenges and how he was addressing it, it was it was actually quite inspiring that he was so focused and disciplined in his practice. Because he had been convicted of cocaine dealing, which is a felony, of course, he was not able to get a, quote, professional job. His wife had taken custody of his 2 kids, and she was still garnishing his wages. He had a minimum wage job driving buses to shuttle buses to the airport, and so he was challenged by basically not having any funds to live on. So he decided that he would go to Mexico and he would find indigenous crafts, and import them into the U.S. And so he had gone down there for a couple of trips, had come back, and things were building. He was for distribution here in the U.S. And it turns out that I had heard through some friends that he had here in Boulder that he was found in a ditch with a knife into his skull, which is the mark of execution by the cartel. And, you know, we don't know what happened. We don't know how he got sideways with the cartel. There are several scenarios that we could imagine. But I suspect that what happened was that the cartel found out that he was looking to import goods into the U.S. in terms of indigenous crafts, and they wanted to stuff those items with their product and get them across the border. With Bobby's experience, Bobby Winters, with his experience with cocaine and the cocaine trafficking as a dealer, I can imagine that he would have said, "No way, Jose," as it were, and the cartel decided to put pressure on him, and he resisted, and they had him pay the ultimate price for that. But whatever the reason, to see him move from an inmate in the jail to a prison inmate sentenced, convicted of cocaine, struggling with the low-paying job with his wages being garnished by his ex-wife for child support, I can just see the struggle that he went through, and to maintain that idea that this would have been 3-4 years after he first encountered the course that he came up with this T-shirt product. From everything that I could tell from my witnessing his life from afar, I was the assistant minister at Unity of Boulder by that time, but from everything I could tell, Bobby was really getting it, and he was finding his purpose, and that is to heal and to help and to love unconditionally. Well, some of you may be familiar with the early history of India. The Aryan civilization, which was located between the Caspian Sea and the Hindu Kush, the mountain range, that civilization had a migration that went south over the Himalayas into the Indus Valley. The Indus Valley was located basically where Pakistan and northwestern India are now, in the Indus River area. And what they found when the migration is timed approximately 1500 BCE. But what they found when they arrived in the Indus Valley, they found a civilization that had established planned cities. They had public works for both water and sewer, of metalworking, copper and copper alloys. They, in fact, were able to create sheets of metal and construct various items through this craft. So, when the Aryans arrived in the Indus Valley at about 1500, there was this well-established civilization. And historians, archaeologists, have since discovered several city-states in the Indus Valley area that had their origins about 3000 BCE. That's about the time that the pyramid building started in Egypt. But that established civilization, coming 5,000 years ago, if you will, they also had a technology. They called it the sacred science. They called it the Brahma Vidya. The Brahma Vidya was a discipline of exploring and developing the inner science, the science of the mind, the science of human interactions, the science of understanding the psychology of individuals. And whether that Brahma Vidya originated in that period just prior to the Aryan migration, some call it the invasion, but it wasn't a migration, or whether it developed in the early times or even prior to the development of the civilization. This practice of exploring that inner realm was very much alive in the early history of India. And one of my favorite authors, you've heard the passage meditation that I've shared with you on several occasions in the past. The passage meditation that I've used, the passage that I've used in this meditation is the prayer of St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. But that teacher, Eknath Warren, has written a number of different books about Christianity and Eastern civilization and Eastern traditions. And one of the things that he delved into was the Bhagavad Gita. And in the commentary for the Bhagavad Gita, he shared this with us. And he's talking about the Brahma Vidya. He says, whatever its origins, in the early part of the first millennium BCE, about 1000 BCE, we find clearly stated both the methods and the discoveries of the Brahma Vidya. With this introspective tool, the inspired rishis, literally the seers, of ancient India analyzed their awareness of human experience to see that if there was anything in it that was absolute. Their findings can be summarized in three statements, which Aldous Huxley, following Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, has called the perennial philosophy, because they appear in every age and civilization. Every age and civilization, these three principles are present. That there is an infinite, changeless reality beneath the world of change. And this same reality lies at the core of every human personality. And the purpose of life is to discover this reality experientially. That is, to realize God while here on earth. That we call mysticism, but that is in the view of the perennial philosophy. These principles are present in every faith tradition, every spiritual tradition on the planet, whether it's the indigenous traditions or it's the more society cultural wide traditions of Hinduism and Buddhism and Taoism and Christianity and Judaism. These principles are infinite, changeless reality. This lies at the core of every human personality, and the purpose of life is to discover this reality experientially. So, if we look at the if we look at our own tradition, there we go. If we look at our own tradition of Christianity, we see this idea that there is a changeless reality beyond or below, or beyond anyway, above, below, wherever, of the changeable reality that we are in. And in Christianity, we focus our energies on finding that changeless reality that we call God. I call the universal consciousness, whatever name it is that you apply to it, that is an underlying aspect of every tradition. But by the same token, being the core of our individual personalities, if you will, the Christ self in the Christian tradition, the Buddha nature in the terms of the Buddhist tradition, the Great Spirit in the native tradition, the Atman in the Hindu Vedic traditions, this unchangeable core of our personality, we attempt to express. And the way we express it is our process of experientially understanding, experiencing this ultimate Godhead. And in the Christian tradition, we have this process of experiencing God as offered in the two great commandments, Matthew 22:34-40. When the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together, and one of them, a lawyer, asked Jesus a question to test him. "Teacher, which commandment of the law is greatest?" And Jesus said to him, "You shall love God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and this is the greatest and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two great commandments hang all the law and the prophets." Now, if we put this in the context of what is it that we are attempting to do in this process of realizing the Godhead here and now, is that when we love God with all our hearts, when we love our neighbors as ourselves, when we love unconditionally, what we're doing is we're experientially exploring that Godhead, that ultimate unchangeable undergirding of our reality. And so that process is one that while we are in the state of bliss, it's easy to love God with all your heart. And of course, love your neighbors as yourself, because it's all good, man. It's all good. The challenge is when we are confronted with conflict, when we're confronted with tribulation, when we're confronted with people that don't agree with you, when we're confronted with someone in traffic that darts in front of us and goes to the off-ramp, just zoop, and not considering us at all. That's where our challenge is, to experience God in every aspect of our reality. So as we go through this process of practicing this Brahma Vidya, if you will, as we go through this process of exploring our relationship with God through our relationship with each other, indeed, we are challenged, and that challenge is where we make our gains. That's where we discover how it is that we can indeed offer love, unconditional love, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of what the person has said to us, regardless of how close our bumpers were to hitting each other as we came into this confrontation on the freeway. So, exploring this inner realm, founded in the Vedic tradition of ancient India, documented at about 1000 BCE in the Upanishads, made into an epic poem in the Mahabharata, and the Bhagavad Gita being a part of that epic poem, It's thought that the Bhagavad Gita was actually inserted into the Mahabharata after the various events that occurred that gave rise to the Mahabharata, specifically a civilization-wide conflict. All of that is a foundation for our Christian tradition of love God with all your heart, love your neighbor as yourself. So, experientially discovering through that process of unconditional love is the path that we find to discovering our purpose. It's about finding something that allows your heart to sing, and then singing with a full voice. I could imagine, just off the top of my head, I could imagine a coffee barista being very, very passionate about kayaking and finding that, yeah, I can go ahead and serve coffee and I can do my kayaking. But not only can I do my kayaking, I can take others to that experience. I can introduce the city slickers that have never been on the water to this experience of excitement and thrill and wonderful experiencing the fullness of life through running of the rapids. I could imagine that somehow. And I won't drop any names here. But whether it's a vocation that you have that allows your heart to sing, or it is an avocation that allows your heart to sing, whether it is something that's going on outdoors or it's something that's going on indoors. When I found my purpose, it was all about bringing what I understood, not necessarily truth, but what I understood about truth, to a wider community. And that was first experienced in A Course in Miracles, as I was facilitating my first class, as I and Midge Meager took the course into the Boulder County Jail, as I expanded that into Camp George West, as I realized that what I really needed to do was to find my vocation in this experience. But whether it is an avocation or a vocation, find that which makes your heart sing. Then sing it with a full voice. It is truly our purpose, our fundamental principle, our fundamental purpose, that we find that which we can express. That unconditional love, that unconditional regard for all of those that are in our company. I'd like to hear from you. What are the things that you've found that makes your heart sing? I'll have my drink.
Making an impact on the community in some small way makes my heart sing. When I was in the Junior Chamber of Commerce, we served the community in numerous different ways, and while we were doing that, we had fellowship with other people like us. And teaching does bring that to me too, just using my talents to serve.
Okay. All right. When you're doing that, Pam, as you're expressing that, is there that underlying sense of giving unconditionally, of embracing that community with which you're working, and just offering all that you have to give?
Absolutely, because when you're your natural self and you just give from your heart, you don't know which of those specific actions or which specific words you say to that particular student are going to touch them.
Oh, yes, yes. That vibration of the web that comes from that little spark that you've offered, and to see that vibration radiating out. Ah, yes. I got you.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Someone else.
Well, in addition to kayaking, when I was practicing dentistry, I had an opportunity to go to Oaxaca, Mexico on 3 different occasions, and then into the sticks in Guatemala. In both cases, we were off the beaten path far enough that the locals spoke the indigenous languages, so they didn't even speak Spanish. And I got to practice dentistry down there. And both that and then serving in my community in Oregon on a mobile home and doing that stuff for free really felt good to me. And then another thing that makes my heart sing, I'm trying to get better at it, but is inspired live music, especially improv. And big thanks to your reverence and then the jazz cats that do their thing on Wednesday nights. That's huge to me. That really inspires me.
How does that feel?
It's amazing. I mean, just when those musicians take risks and then, pull off something that's mind-boggling, it's awesome. I love it.
It's so difficult to put that feeling into words, isn't it? Amazing. Amazing is a very broad word, but there is a very specific feeling that is associated with that, I'm sure. That you know it when you feel it, right?
Yeah.
Someone else.
Yeah, it's it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Andrew.
I was just agreeing with you. It's incredible. It's there's nothing like it.
It is said that those who are struggling with anger, that are struggling with lack of compassion, that are struggling with isolation, it's that they haven't found that sense of wow, that sense of amazing in the very specific sense that you were speaking of, and one of the therapies that is being used, Viktor Frankl offered a form of psychology called logotherapy, and one of the intentions of logotherapists is to help people find their purpose, and through that finding of purpose, to resolve the issues of depression, to resolve the issues of underlying angst and anger, to solve those issues that causes them to either voluntarily or involuntarily be isolated from the community at large. Because finding the purpose is about attaining that connection and reveling in that connection, feeling like serving the indigenous peoples of Guatemala with your dentistry skills, finding that causes us to realize that we really are important, that we really have something to contribute, that if I leave this planet, that I will be missed. And it's not about that idolizing the agony that others are going to find with your absence, but rather to realize that while I am here, I am contributing, I am adding to that which is all around me. And wow, what an opportunity we have right now. People that are feeling isolated, even if you're wanting to stay isolated, you can pick up the phone. Susan Jeffers talks about a friend of hers whose teenage son, he had just turned 16, and he was approaching Valentine's Day, and he asked his mom, he says, "Mom, what could I do for Jennifer?" His girlfriend. He said, "What can I do for Jennifer that would be special on Valentine's Day?" And she said, "Here's what you do. it's Valentine's Day today. Go down to the store. They've got a sale on roses. Buy 50 roses. And you and Jennifer go to the rest home down the street here and hand out those roses. So the mother called the program director at that rest home and said, my son would like to come down and do this. Is that okay? She said, that's wonderful. We never have anybody doing things like that. So her son and Jennifer got 50 roses and went down to the rest home. And they experienced this wonderful, amazing feeling of connecting with people who did not feel that anyone cared. Well, her son was so impressed with that, and I'm sure Jennifer was impressed with her boyfriend taking her on this excursion, but her son was so impressed with that even through college, even after college, he continued with that activity of giving unconditionally to those who are not connected with the community. That's such a, for me, that's such a wonderful, heartwarming story of how even when we are isolated, we can touch other isolated people by picking up the phone, by making a phone call, contacting a assisted living facility, and just talk about what you're trying to do and see if you can gain an entree to talk with various people in that facility. There are so many opportunities in this uncertain time for us to be present for others. Are we willing? Are we willing to step out, find what sings in our heart, and then sing with the full voice? Are we willing to do that? Our purpose may in fact arise because of some individual activity that causes us to say, yes, this is what I'm here for. Now, for those of us who've already found our purpose or who are continuing to revise our understanding of what our purpose is, continue. But for those of us who don't yet know, regardless of what age we are, whether we're teenagers or 20-somethings or in our middle ages or we are over the hill gang, wherever we are in life, we still have the opportunity to let our hearts sing. That's our charge. And from 5,000 years ago, we have the Brahma Vidya that tells us that our purpose is to experience the Godhead. And that experience in Godhead in the Christian tradition is love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself unconditionally. Simple words, challenging, and I encourage you to do just this. Realizing that where we are right now is where we are called to be right now. That this is the perfect spot. This is the perfect time. This is the perfect community for us to be within. And here in this sacred space, we offer unconditional love to this moment. We allow this unconditional love to flow through us and touch each and every one in this community. We allow this unconditional love to be in our breath, in our hearts, extending to all aspects of our consciousness, to bringing this light of love into every dark corner, to eliminate the shadows by illuminating our entire consciousness. Allowing this unconditional love to flow into this moment. We breathe in and breathe out. We invite that holy presence. Father, Mother, God, what shall I do? With whom shall I meet? And what shall I say? Allowing ourselves to fall into this embrace of the divine. Allowing ourselves to be the instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, where there is fear, let me bring love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, let me bring joy. O Divine Master, grant that I shall not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in the giving that we receive. It is in the forgiving that we are forgiven. And it is the dying to the ego self that we are born to eternal life. Eternal life, embraced in love. Experiencing love because we have offered it. Experiencing love unconditionally because we have offered it unconditionally. O Divine Master, thank you. And in this awareness of unconditional love moving through us from the heart of God into this moment, touching each and every one in this moment, every one in our community, every one in that greater community, every one on this planet, touching each and every sentient being. This love that we express is always available to us. In unlimited quantity. In unlimited quantity. The more we give, the more we can give, the more that is available to us to give. And so we open our hearts and we allow that unconditional love to flow through us and sing from our hearts, sing with a full voice from our hearts. This is what we're here for. This is our purpose. This is who I am. We take several deep breaths and integrate this awareness into the depths of our consciousness, into the reaches of our consciousness, exuding this radiance of unconditional love in every interaction, in every situation, in every circumstance in which we find ourselves. We are the vehicles of God's love in this moment. Let's allow that to be so, because That is our purpose. To help, to heal, to love unconditionally. And so it is. And in this sacred awareness, let us share this offering blessing. If you're so inclined to make an offering, you can go to our chat box, and there is a link there that will take you to tinyurl.com LWU donate. Together, please. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give in love because I trust in God. And so it is. Well, let me share with you a song by Sue Riley. She is one of my recent favorite artists. Oops, hang on a second. Let's come back to that. Yeah, okay. I wanted to make sure that we were optimized for music.
In these times when we don't know what to do, all we can do is be there for each other and help each other through. All we can do is be there for each other in these times when we don't know what to do. All we can do is be there for each other and help each other through. Twists and turns, unexpected, day by day moving on. I don't have all the answers, come what may, right or wrong. All we can do is be there for each other in these times when we don't know what to do. All we can do is be there for each other and help each other through. Crashing waves touch the shore. Time moves faster every day. Ebb and flow, no control. All that's left to say, all we can each other through and help each other through.
I really like that song.
Yeah, it's quite a meditative song, isn't it?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Let's. Yeah, let's go back here. And Maestro, if you would please.
I think he had to go.
Doug?
I had to find my window. You closed me out when you put your thing up there.
Oh, no!
Hey,
Are you feeling okay?
I'm unmuted, yeah.
All right.
Let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. Then we all are we. Let us work with each other in perfect harmony. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow to take each